Chapter 6. Bunatal, the city of coral and spice. Tobin nearly fell off his horse in excitement. Finally, people, food, a bath. The streets of Bunatal were alive with color and noise. Fishermen unloaded their hauls, shouting to customers in a mix of languages neither Soren nor Tobin recognized. Stalls overflowed with shimmering fish, bright spices, and rich silks. The city itself was built of golden sandstone, its buildings painted in hues of red, blue, and green, their archways decorated with intricate patterns. The second they entered, Tobin took off running. "Stay close," Soren shouted after him. "Too late," came the reply from somewhere in the crowd. Soren sighed but had to admit, even he felt a little thrill of excitement. Yesken Bay had trade, but this was something else entirely. If a route could be established between their homeland and this place, it would be invaluable. And yet, all thoughts of trade quickly vanished when Soren spotted Shatri. It looked like a tavern, but something about it suggested it was not a tavern. It was tucked away between two spice shops, its wooden sign carved with swirling patterns. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of cinnamon, citrus, and something floral. Fishermen laughed over clay cups filled with deep red spiced wine, their voices rising in a mix of song and storytelling. Soren hesitated, then thought, I could have one. Just for the road. One turned into two, two into three. By the time the fourth cup hit the table, Soren had stopped counting. The last thing he remembered clearly was laughing. He never laughed that much. And someone taking his hand, pulling him into the swirl of the music. He caught a glimpse of dark eyes, gold bangles clinking, the scent of jasmine in the air. Then everything blurred into warmth, laughter, and dancing. He woke up the next morning in a panic. The room was unfamiliar, though not unpleasant. The bed was comfortable. The curtains fluttered with a warm ocean breeze. It would have been quite peaceful, if not for the horrible headache pounding in his skull. And then he noticed Tobin. His little brother was asleep on the floor by the door, snoring softly, a half-eaten pastry clutched in one hand. "Tobin!" Soren hissed, nudging him with his foot. "Wake up!" Tobin groaned, rolling onto his side. "You were so much fun last night," he mumbled sleepily. Soren ran a hand over his face. He could remember. Something, a girl, dancing, and that was it. "Was there a girl?" he asked. Tobin sat up, rubbing his eyes. "Yeah, she smelled nice." "Where is she?" "Dunno." Tobin stretched. "She danced with you for a while, then I got tired, so I got us a room. You tried to argue, but you were very drunk, so you lost." Soren groaned. Tobin's notes. Best night ever. Soren was actually fun for once. He laughed. He danced. He nearly fell into a fountain. Chapter 7. A month with sheep. They stayed in Bunatal for a week, enjoying fresh seafood and warm nights by the water. But soon, their money began to run low. It was either head home or find work. That was when they met the shepherd. An old man, leathery-skinned and sharp-eyed, stood by the outskirts of the market, watching his flock graze on the dry hills beyond the city. He was looking for young men to tend his sheep. The pay was modest, but the work was steady. "Do we look like shepherds to you?" Tobin asked. "Not yet," the old man replied. "But you will." And so, for a month, the Hawthorne brothers became shepherds. Tobin was horrified. "We crossed a desert for this? It's work," Soren said. "It's boring." It was in fact the most tedious job they had ever done. Sheep, as it turned out, were either incredibly stupid or secretly plotting mischief. Every day was a battle to keep them from wandering too far, getting stuck in bushes, or deciding to lie down in the middle of the road and refuse to move. And then there were the goats. "I swear this one is trying to kill me," Tobin muttered one afternoon, eyeing a particularly evil-looking goat that had butted him over 3 times already. Soren smirked. "I like him." Tobin named the goat Soren Jr. in retaliation. Tobin's notes: goats are monsters. Sheep are idiots. Never become a shepherd. The days stretched on, slow and steady. The work was exhausting, but it paid, and soon they had enough to move on. Chapter 8. The Road Again. The desert city of Bu-Nathal had been good to them, better than either had expected. Soren had learned the intricacies of winemaking and vineyard work, while Tobin had found his unexpected calling under the guidance of a cleric who taught him the basics of potions and spellcraft. For the first time in his life, Tobin wasn't just getting into trouble, he was genuinely invested in something. He no longer pestered Soren about being bored or complained about sore feet. Instead, he talked endlessly about reagents, brewing methods, and the fascinating applications of fire-based spells. That last part worried Soren immensely. Still, as autumn settled over the land, the time came for them to move on. Their initial journey had only been meant to last a few months, yet here they were, several months into it. The thought of home pulled at them, especially for Soren, who was beginning to wonder how his sister fared. Tobin, however, was reluctant. "Do we really have to leave?" Tobin asked, trailing behind as they packed their supplies. Kip, their ever-loyal mutt that Tobin had somehow got without Soren knowing about, lay sprawled on his back, content to ignore the packing process entirely. "Yes," Soren said firmly, adjusting his saddlebag. "But I'm learning things here, important things. What if I forget it all?" "You won't," Soren assured him. "Besides, you talk about potions so much that I could probably brew one myself at this point." "Really?" Tobin asked, eyes wide with excitement. "No," Soren said flatly. With a sigh, Tobin gave in, and soon they were riding westward, away from the sandstone walls of Bu-Nathal and into the desert. They had been traveling for no more than 10 minutes when Tobin dramatically slumped in his saddle. Back on the road, no beds again, sleeping in the dirt like peasants. Soren turned to glare at him. "We are peasants." "Speak for yourself," Tobin said. "I'm an alchemist now," Soren groaned. Kip, trotting beside them, sneezed loudly.